Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. We are here today for our last live of the year, and we are already in December, which is amazing. At the same time, times go by so fast. And today, as we said on our previous live from last month, we will start a new book called Evolution in Two Words. And today, Roberto will give us a kind of introduction. It is the basics. And on the 20th of January next year, we will have these studies monthly as usual. But it was important having this introduction today because this is it's a wonderful book, but full of details, full of technical details as well. So it's important set the rules before we start the game.
Ah,
Oh, and so Roberto, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, Esteban. Thank you. Glad to be here with you all.
Good, good, good. So let me do the initial prayer and then we kick off.
Yes.
So let's enlighten ourselves. Let's ask for our mentors of Irish Spiritist Federation, the FESP, to enlighten Roberto in order to transmit this knowledge the best way possible. May this message reach out our brothers and sisters around the world and looking after our our planet at this time of the year in which we are closer with thoughts to our master. So be it. Amen. Okay, so let me put it here. Okay, the deck,
Okay.
it is there. So
Yeah.
it's with you, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, Esteban. So, hello, everybody again. Uh, in this last live, as Esteban said, we are going to study this new book, Evolution in Two Worlds, and we will have a introduction of this book, which is a little bit complex. In this book, we have Spiritism together with science, specifically biology. Okay, because the André Luiz, the spirited author of this book, so he is the spiritual author, and he dictated this book through Chico Xavier, who was the medium in the first half of the last century. And when André Luiz, when he was incarnate, he was a physician. Uh, okay, so a doctor. So that's why in this book he is talking about something that he knew very well. So let's start with this introduction then. Um, First of all, André Luiz presents to us some concepts by Spiritism, by Allan Kardec, uh, which who was the codifier of the Spiritism. And there in the Spiritist book, question 194, uh, the spirits say that the evolution of the spirits is progressive and never regressive, meaning that we, as spirits, we are always advancing, never regressing. Okay, so this is a law of evolution for ourselves as spirits. And in the Meetings book, Kardec says that knowing about the perispirit is the key to a host of problems that have until now been unexplainable. So such kind of a problem or such kind of a phenomena uh, are the spirits, what we call the spirits phenomena. Okay, so to understand that, we must know about the perispirit or the spiritual body, which is the intermediate between the spirit and the physical body, as we already know, right? Then in the Gospel according to Spiritism, Kardec says that Spiritism shows that this life is only one link in the harmonious and magnificent whole of the Creator's work. So here, he's saying that this life is only one link, meaning that we as spirits, we have not just one life, but many lives. Okay, so and this present life that we have now is just a link in among the many lives that we already had and that we are going to have in the future. And also our life is linked to the whole universe. Okay, to in the community that we live in, our family, our work, in Earth, in the universe and as a whole, right? So this is the magnificent whole of the Creator's work that Kardec said here. So basically, he's talking about, let's say, reincarnation, right? And then in the Heaven and Hell book, Kardec says that in the interval between corporeal lives, the spirit re-enters the spirit world for a period of time, which could be long or short, where it is either happy or unhappy, according to the good or evil it has done. Basically, what Kardec is saying here is that now we are here in the physical world, right? Then before we were born, we were in the spirit world. And after we die in this present life, we will return to the spirit world. Actually, the spirits say that the spirit world is our real, let's say, homeland, right? So we are here on Earth, reincarnate as a, let's say, through a temporary period, right? And then when we are returned to the spiritual world after we pass away, there we will be happy or unhappy depending on what we are doing now, right? In this present life. If we are doing good, we are going to be happy after in the spiritual world after we pass away, and the opposite is also true, right? So this is basically some basic concepts that André Luiz is presenting to us, because it is intimately related to the subject of this book, as we are going to see. And finally, in the Genesis book, Kardec says that Spiritism and science complete each other. Science without Spiritism is completely unable to explain certain phenomena solely by means of the laws of matter, right? But Spiritism, by the other hand, without science, would lack support and control. So this is something that we are going to see in this book here, and I have already mentioned, right, that André Luiz is going to talking about it, or to teach us about Spiritism and science together, or Spiritism and biology, right? Because you're going to explain how, for example, our physical body works, how our spiritual body works, and all of this under the light of the Spiritist knowledge. Okay, so basically these are the concepts that he is presenting here to us. Then we have the opening comments of Emmanuel. Emmanuel Well, I said that André Luiz is the spiritual author of this book or many other books. We have studied it, two other books before, right? In the realms of mediumship and the mechanics of mediumship. And now we are studying this in evolution in two worlds. And the spirit, Emmanuel is also a spirit, right? And he is the spirit that coordinates all this psychographic work of the medium Chico Xavier, right? So he is the coordinator of all the books that were published by Chico Xavier, and and he was the medium of many spiritual authors, right? One of them is André Luiz. And so Emmanuel, as a coordinator, he's always gives some opening comments in André Luiz books. And here he says that André Luiz writes about the spiritual body or perispirit, right? Allan Kardec called the perispirit. And such a spiritual body or perispirit are known since the remote times. That's what Emmanuel is explaining here, right? And the humankind recognizes the perispirits as a subtle organism, which is, like I said, the intermediary between the spirit and the physical body. And well, 4,000 years ago, the priests of Egypt called the perispirit as Ka. And in the evocation of the Sibyls in Greece, which were women, mediums, women in the ancient Greece, let's say about 2,500 years ago, they called Eidolon to the spiritual body, right? And then more recently, in the 16th century, Paracelsus, this guy here, designated the perispirit as the sidereal body. Okay, so then you see that the perispirit is known since the remote times, as Emmanuel is saying here, right? And the idea of a perispirit awakens in us the idea of immortality, since the perispirit is a living form of the human being per se. So, what Emmanuel is trying to explain here is that the why the perispirit awakens in us the idea of immortality. It is because now, for example, as incarnate beings, we have this physical body that we have, but we also have the perispirit, right? Or the spiritual body. And after we pass away, we go to the spiritual world, like I saw, and then we as a spirit go to the spiritual world with our perispirit, right? So we are the spirit. We as a spirit, we are always together with our spiritual body. So that's why it awakens us such idea of immortality. Okay, meaning that the mortal is only our physical body. Our spiritual body is kind of immortal, right? Because it's always together with the spirit, which of course is also immortal. And there's such a perispirit under the command of the mind presides over the cellular cocoon, Emmanuel says, in which the spirit remains for a little while on the earth. So the cellular cocoon is our physical body, right? Which remains temporarily in this on earth. So then he says that all our sentiments, thoughts, words, and deeds are reflected in the spiritual body, in our spiritual body, generating fortunate or unfortunate consequence, right? Again, right, depending what we do, of good or evil, then we have the happy or unhappy consequences. And all these things that we do are reflected on our spiritual body, which are is always accompanying the spirit, okay? So, and then André Luiz says that in discussing the perispiritic evolution, André Luiz, the spiritual author, explains simply that human beings are not condemned to dust, right? Meaning that, like I said, right, when we pass away someday in the future, we will go to the spiritual world with our perispirit, right? Our physical body will turn into dust, but not our spiritual body, just the physical body. And then that's why from immobility of the grade, Emmanuel says, the perispirit, the human beings, are raised to triumphant activity, carrying them with them the heaven or hell they have created within themselves, right? So that's the Emmanuel opening comments. Then let's see some comments from André Luiz, the spiritual author. So he says here that he telling us that he says we have aspired to write a simple book on the evolution of the soul on the two planes, the physical plane and the spiritual plane, and they are interconnected by the cradle and the grave, and where the pathway to God is weaved, right? So interconnected because by the cradle we arrive from the spiritual plane to the physical plane, right? And through the grave, when we pass away, we return from this physical dimension to the spiritual dimension. So that's why the two planes are interconnected, right? And the common element of these two worlds, spirit and physical, is our spiritual body, right? So, and then André Luiz proceeded here saying that this book represents notice in which the unpretentious doctor that I am might say something about the spiritual body. So here he's telling by himself, right, that he was a doctor when he was incarnate. And so this book have pages in which we could partner the rigid concept of science, and he going to talk about the biology, like I said, and the consoling message of the gospel of Jesus Christ, right, which is Spiritism. So that's an introduction from André Luiz. And then he says, let us study the route of our multimillennial pilgrimage through our incarnation, right? Feeling the heat of the flame of our spirits pulsating everlasting in eternity, because we are all immortal, right? And then it says, lighting the candle of hope in an exaltation of joy, we will perceive that God, the Father of infinite goodness, has traced out our divine destination beyond the stars, right? Because as we know in the spiritist knowledge, there are many inhabited world, right? When we reach the most we can reach in terms of evolution in this on Earth, we will be able to go to a superior world, right? Much more evolved than Earth. So that's why our destination is beyond the stars. Okay, so that's are the André Luiz comments, and then let's start by the first chapter of this book, which still is a kind of introduction, because here André Luiz is going to give us an explanation about the creation as a whole, right? Before starting to talking about the spiritual body specifically. So then he will talk here about the cosmic fluid, right? So he says that the cosmic fluid, or the divine plasma, so is the divine plasma, the breath of the creator, of God, right? Or the neural force of the all-knowing God again, right? So he explains that in this primordial element, constellations and suns, worlds and beings vibrate and exist like fish in the ocean. So meaning that all the creation, the solar system, our galaxy, we ourselves, we are immersed in this cosmic fluid, right? Or you could say the universal fluid. So we are immersed in such fluid. All the universe is immersed in such fluid, like fish in the ocean. Okay, so that's what he explained here. And this is the primordial element, meaning that everything that exists in the universe uh, is originated. The source is the cosmic fluid. Okay, and then that's why he talking here about the co-creation on a higher plane. He said that within this original substance, the cosmic fluid, the divine intelligences, so they are very high evolved spirits, right? So connected to God, the Supreme Lord, they work together in a process of unfathomable communion, right? So meaning that the whole universe, God doesn't need to create God by himself, he by himself, let's say, the universe. He has under his command lots of very evolved spirits, the divine intelligence, that work together with him, with God, to create the universe. That's what André Luis said here, right? And such divine intelligence are also the great devas of the Hindu theology, right? Or the archangels of various religions, like Christianism, right? And so such a great devas and or archangels or divine intelligence or very evolved, they are basically pure spirits, right? So they draw from this spiritual breath or cosmic fluids storehouses of energy, right? With which they build the system of dimension. So such guys here, let's say, create galaxies, right, throughout the universe. That's what Andalus is saying here. So these glorious intelligences take the divine plasma or cosmic fluid and turn it into cosmic dwellings of all kinds. So the many galaxies, the world that existed throughout this infinite universe, right? So whether radiant or dark, gaseous or solid, these dwellings last for millennia upon millennia. But someday they finally wear out, right, and are transformed, since created spirits, which are such divine intelligences, may form or co-create, but only God is the creator from all eternity, right? So meaning that that's why the expression here, co-creation, because creator is only God, right? So which basically we say that God created the universe from nothing, right? We as created beings, even the pure spirits are created beings. They cannot create something from nothing, right? So they can only form, they can transform what have been already created by God. So that's what Andal is explaining here. That's why the expression, we are co-creator, no, not creator. Right? Creator only God is. So here's an idea of a nebula. So the cosmic fluids, such divine intelligence, starts to concentrate the cosmic fluid in some place. Then we have this nebula here, and from this nebula will emerge a galaxy, for example, right? So we can see through this nebula many stars there, right? Many stars which are shining there. And then this is the first step, let's say, of a creation of a galaxy. Then André Luiz says about the starry empires, right? So due to the action of those grand architects, again, the divine intelligences, groups of stars emerge in galaxies, right? So an intergalactic nebula. So like the galaxy that we live in, right? The Milky Way. So is composed of billions of stars, right? And each stars with there's composed a system of planets and together with such a star, right? So in the boson of those astounding formations, matter, space, and time are structured and interconnected, right? So matter, space, and time emerges with the creation of the universe. Basically, what André Luiz is saying here. And the celestial engineering of those grand architects, they balance it, rotation and mass, right? So maintaining magnificent forests of stars, which are the galaxies, for example, each carrying its form in the planets, right? Like our sun, which is a star, and have all the planets around it, right? So these are all created by such grand architects. If we look at night at the sky, then we can see a small image of the universe, a part uh, of the universe, right? All these millions of stars shining on the sky that we see, right? So we wonder how many galaxies exist throughout this universe. Actually, billions and billions, right? So So let's talk about our galaxy. André Luiz make a simple comparison analogy here. So he says, let us compare our galaxy, the Milky Way, to a large city, lost among countless of other large cities in a country. Then taking the sun and our neighboring planets as units in our apartment building, we can see that there are other buildings all around in every direction. So what is the analogy that André Luiz is making here? So he's comparing, for example, he's comparing the galaxy to a large city. Lost among countless of other cities in a country. So let's say that Ireland is a country, right? So then Dublin, which is a large city, would be a galaxy. So Ireland, the country Ireland would be the universe, and then Dublin, a large city, would be a galaxy. And inside the city of Dublin, we have many buildings, right? So each building would be a solar system in this case, right? So the galaxy is composed of billions of solar systems. And then the city of Dublin is composed of many buildings, so which would be a solar system. And then each apartment of this building would represent the sun and also the planets around the sun, right? So if we are in our apartment in a building there in Dublin, we look throughout the window, we see the other buildings or the other solar system, the other solar system, right, in around our building. So that's what André Luiz, the comparison that he's doing here. And that other building that we see from our window are the other planets, right? Like Mars, like Jupiter, Saturn, and so on and so forth, right? Venus and Mercury, and so on and so forth, and the Sun itself, right? So that is the comparison that he's doing here on André Luiz. And then he says that we can see that even though our dwelling, our building, is not the most humble, countless others greatly surpass it in both size and beauty. So meaning that we live in this solar system here, which is not the most humble, like that he says, right? But there are many other systems, star systems, let's say, that are much larger than our solar system. So that's basically what he's saying here, right? This is just to have an idea about how magnificent is our galaxy, right? And imagine the universe as a whole. So here's the artistic vision, right, of the Milky Way galaxy, and the solar system is on the periphery of the solar system, right? So we are far from the center of our Milky Way galaxy. We are here on the periphery, right? So then all of these are constructed from atoms, right? Like we have our body, physical body, is composed of atoms. The universe also, the stars, the planets are also composed of atoms. So that's why André Luis now turn his look here to the atomic forces, right? So then he sees that all this richness of form is erected on the basis of particles controlled by radiation of the mind, right? So this is very interesting here, because we could wonder, right, how the divine intelligences transform all this cosmic fluid into a galaxy, for example, right? So these are also through their mind, right? So here we see the force of the thought, right? So that's why André says, under the guide of superior intelligences, atoms congregate into immense hives, right? So they congregate together. The spatial interatomic areas are reduced so as to be transformed into the condensed nuclear mass, right? So, for example, if we think about water, for example, right? So water as a gas, the spatial interatomic areas are very large, right? Water as liquid, the spatial interatomic areas are reduced, right? And the water as solid, as an ice, for example, is the spatial interatomic areas are much more reduced here, right? So that's why they condense the fluid cosmic into the cosmic fluid into the nuclear mass, and from this nuclear mass they scope the planets, right? And in whose bosom, and Louis says, the celestial monadists will find a suitable cradle for their development. Who are the celestial monadists? We ourselves, right? The spirits. We are the celestial monads, which you will find in such worlds a suitable cradle for our development, right? Like we are here on Earth. So this is basically what André Luiz is saying. Here we have a vision, also artistic image, right? So from the solar system, the sun in the center, and all the planets is circulating around the sun, right? Then such worlds, which are composed starting from the atoms, the atomic forces, serve the purpose for which they are intended until they undergo atomic collapse. So meaning that one day in the future, our sun will end its existence, and also the earth. So these are all temporary, although it lasted by billions of years, right? Then the divine agents, when such on our solar system, for example, collapsing, the divine agents take these materials, collapse them, and to create new celestial dwellings, right? So that's what André Luiz is saying here, right? So, like we already know from science, right? The matter never finish, right? Just transform itself. So that's what he explained here. And then now we also, as human intelligence, we also can co-create on a lesser plane, on a smaller plane, not like as the divine intelligence, right? And but we also use the cosmic fluids to co-create what we can co-create. And first of all, Andalus says that we assimilating the particles of matter with the spiritual energy that is properly to ourselves, our thought, our mind, we can form our physio psychosomatic vehicle. So what is our physical psychosomatic vehicle? Well, physio means our physical body. So we we co-create our own physical body uh, with this particle of matter, right? And then we also create our psychosomatic vehicle or body, right? Our spiritual body. So meaning that we as a human intelligence, we create, starting from the cosmic fluid, our the two bodies that we have, right? The physical body and the spiritual body. So that's what Andalus is saying here. But we do more than that, right? We also create the civilizations, right? The culture, the science, the art, the religion, right? The philosophy, and that make up the world of incarnate and discarnate humankind, right? Because we are here on Earth, we say we are now around 8 billion spirits incarnate on Earth, but humankind on Earth is not only the are not only the 8 billions of human beings incarnate, but we also have an estimated 3 times more of discarnate beings, right, on Earth. So that would be the humankind as a whole. And the civilization involves all this humankind, right? So that's what Andalus is saying here. So meaning that we as human intelligence also we co-create. We create our own bodies, physical and spiritual, and we create, let's say, the environment where we live, right? So the civilizations. And so here we see the spirits on the left. It creates the perispirit, its own perispirit, and its own physical body. Right? So we do that. That's what Andalus is saying here. Of course, we don't do that consciously, right? So, but because this is something that we are doing. Well, since the ancient times, right? So it's something that is already such knowledge is already in us, although we are not conscious of that. It's like when, let's say, we learn how to drive, for example, right? And drive a vehicle, right? In the beginning, we must think all the details, right? So now we must accelerate, we must brake, we must turn right, turn left, look to the mirror from the cars behind. So on the left, on the right, on the left. Then after some experience, we don't think anymore about the details, right? We just drive automatically, right? So in the same way, we create, well, our perispirit and the physical body. So that's what Andalus is saying here. Regarding culture or civilization, that's more conscious. We do that more consciously, right? And then we do another thing also, right? So Andalus says, we also shape the places darkened by infernal purgation, created by imbalanced minds in the lower abysmal regions. So meaning that if we are a guy with a constant imbalance in the mind, and we we shaped such places darkened by infernal purgation, like Andre Luis says here, right? So meaning that when, for example, when we pass away, we don't go to heaven, right? Like the traditional religion says, right? A place where we can be happy, right? But as I have an imbalanced mind, I go to a place where other guys with imbalanced minds are also, right? So these are the lower abysmal regions. For those that have seen the movie Astral City, which is the first book dictated by this André Luiz, the spiritual author, was Our Home. And then for this first book, Our Home, and where he described to us when he passed away and when he went to the spiritual world, and how was his experience there on the spiritual world. And then this book was transformed in this movie here, Astral City, right? So here we have an image from the movie of those, let's say, purgatory region, right? So where André Luis went, right? Just after he passed away. Then after that, after remaining there for a little bit of time, then he was rescued, right, by more evolved spirits, and then he went to the Our Home, which is let's say a kind of a spiritual colony, a spiritual city in the spiritual realm, right? So, well, to have more details, you should either see the movie or read the book, right? But these are the lower regions that André Luiz mentioned here, right? So, such places serves as agglutinations of short duration. Well, short duration is not the idea of the hell, right? Where the guy goes and suffers there for eternity. No, such places here are of short duration in the microcosm where they dwell temporarily on, right? Like André Luis, he dwelt there temporarily, and then they go to the Our Home, the spiritual city, that's much better than this lower region, right? And this follows the same principle of mental control with which the higher intelligences mold the macrocosmic edifices that defy the passage of millennia. So, meaning that as well as the divine intelligences create the galaxies with their mental control, we as human beings, spirits, we also, by our mental control, if we have imbalanced minds, we also created such a microcosm, right? So, which is such lower regions that André Luiz is mentioned here. So just to have an idea of how powerful is our mind, right? Our thought. And then André Luiz says here, right? In essence, matter is energy that has become visible, right? And energy by itself is divine force. So we have divine force, which comes from God, and from such divine force, we have energy. And then from energy, let's say by condensing such energy, we have matter, right? And we also know now by the quantum physics that matter can be transformed again into energy, right? And so we use such force, such divine force, which is intrinsic to the cosmic fluid that we saw in the beginning. We use such force to enforce. Also, we can learn from the Genesis, the book written by Allan Kardec, that the forces are intrinsic to the cosmic fluids. And which are those forces? The electricity, magnetism, right? So all these gravitation, all these forces are intrinsic to the cosmic fluids. And then he says that we use such force to interpolate our own purpose among the purpose of creation, whose laws of creation, honor the good we practice, constraining us to transform the evil that we do into the good that we should do, right? Because the good of all is its eternal principle. So the eternal principle of creation is the good of all. So that if we do the good, then we are honoring the laws of creation, the laws of God, of course, right? But by the other hand, if we do evil, then we are doing the opposite of what the law of creation determines. And in that case, we are constrained to transform such evil into the good that we should do, right? So that at the end of the day, that is the whole process of our evolution as a spirit, right? When we are still, let's say, ignorant of such laws, divine laws, we do lots of evil, right? So, but then through the reincarnation, through the many lives that we are having, we are learning how to transform such evil, because such evil that we do at the end of the day just causes us suffering, right? And the other cause suffering to other also. But through reincarnation, we are going to learn how to transform such evil into good, right? And then like, for example, in the high evolved world, there is no suffering anymore, because they don't do any evil, right? They do just the good, and they they always honor the laws of creation. So that's what Andalus is saying here. So basically what he's saying here is about the evolution of the spirits, but as we evolve as spirits, we are all accompanied by our spiritual body. So the as we spirits evolved through through eternity, our spiritual body evolved as well, right? So that's what Andalus is saying here. And what we are going to study in this book, actually, is not the evolution of the spirit, but the evolution of the spiritual body. Of course, following the evolution of the spirit, because the one that evolved is the spirit, right? The spiritual body just follows such evolution. So that's what we are going to see in this book here, right? So and that happens like as we have our spiritual body here in the physical realm, and also in the spiritual realm after we pass away or before we reincarnate here, then we are always with our spiritual body. So by studying our spiritual body, we can see how we as a spirit have evolved through times, right? So that's what we are going to see in this book. It's very interesting. And then that's why also Andalus is talking about the biology, because he are going to teach us about the evolution of also of our physical body, because the spirit is evolved, and as the spirit evolves, the spiritual the spirit its spiritual body also evolves, right? That becomes more perfect. And as the spiritual body evolves, also this physical body evolves, right? So imagine, for example, which kind of a body we have, let's say, 1 million of years ago, was much more brute, let's say, right, than the body that we have now. So why our body now is more perfect than the body that we had millions of years ago? Because we as spirit have evolved, and as we evolved through these million of years, through countless incarnations, our spiritual body also evolved together with us as spirits. And as our spiritual body evolved, then our physical body also evolved. So this is the let's say the contest that we are going to see in this book. So very interesting. I hope you find it very interesting. So then the list says here, we must further point out that the cosmic fluid or divine plasma is the force that in which we all live amid the varied facets of nature. And that's the reason why it has been by Paul the Apostle, right? In God remove and exist. Right? This is in the Acts, right? In the Gospel and in New Testament, right? So we see that we in God we move and exist because we move and exist uh, inside, let's say, immersed in such cosmic fluid, which is the divine plasma. Okay, so that doesn't mean make no mistake. That doesn't mean that God is the universe. Right? God is the creator. The universe is the creation. Right. So the cosmic fluid is a creation of God. It's not God, right? So that's important to note, to observe. Huh? Otherwise, we would end up believing in pantheism, right? Which is believing that the universe and God are the same. They are not, right? So that's what I think. Yeah, that's what we have for this introduction of this book. And then next year, on January 20th, we started actually by studying the spiritual body, right? Start from chapter 2 until chapter 20. And then we have, this is comprises the first part. Then we have the second part, which where André Luiz giving more details about the life in the spiritual world. And so this is all that we are going to see next year. I hope we can finish this book last year because it's very extensive, right? Okay, so that's what I have for today. So I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and uh, we'll see you next year. Steven?
Okay, my friend, thank you. It's
You,
very good introduction. It's so important to have these important outlines before we start reading the
yeah,
book properly, because it's setting the rules, as I said, for the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have any questions.
Okay,
Uh, so since it is an introduction, so I don't
yeah,
think we do have
yeah.
many things to say yet. So we can jump to our final prayer.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you again for 1 year more of these productive meetings. And let's finish by thank you all the spiritual benefactors for all the support they all always give us, helping us to studying, preparing, and reflecting and presenting such issues regarding the spiritism and knowledge. We also thank Jesus for this opportunity to be talking about this spiritism, which is based on his knowledge that he brought us 2 millennia ago. And finally, we also thank God for the gift of a life where we can, like Andalus said, we can, through our many incarnations, we can reach the beyond the stars, uh, to reach perfection in order to get close to to our heavenly Father. So be it.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you all, friends from FESP. for the wonderful year, for the all the joint work we have had. I also thank you, Roberto, for your time. I wish you and your family a wonderful Christmas, a happy New Year. Be, be prepared
Thank
for
you.
next year,
Yeah.
and I'll see you everybody in
Okay.
2026 on the 20th of January 2026.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you also, too,
Okay.
Esteban, and to you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.